Welcome to Formnext 2023 here in Frankfurt, and welcome to our expert insights here on Industry Stage in Hall 11. Yeah, I'm very happy that we can start into the business cases in the afternoon of getting more information about business cases. That's always interesting. But before we start, maybe I have a hint for the one or the other of you, especially here at the booth and in the halls, because we have here in Hall 11 a career booth with a photo shoot up to, I think, 1 hour. You have time to come here and get a free job application photo, and you know, there is a job wall where you might find a job, or when you're an exhibitor and looking for employees, you can post your job here, and very special, you get a free job consultation. 1 hour is left. Maybe there is the one or the other slot free. Make sure to step by. Yeah, but now it's time for disruption. And this disruption will brought to you by Dr. Alexander Starnecker and Dr. Sonja Baumgartner. Welcome. Dr. Sonja Baumgartner, she's Head of Business Development at Cubicure, and Dr. Alexander Starnecker, good to have you here, is CEO of Weisser Spulenkörper. And they will show how industrial additive manufacturing revolutionizes the serial production. Serial production is in everyone's mouth, and now we are very curious what you brought with you. The stage is yours.
Well, thank you so much for the introduction. Disruption. Disruption has been always in the DNA of Cubicure, although back in 2015 we didn't really call it like that, or at least this word hasn't been used as inflationary as it was in the last few years. But being disruptive meant for us to finally enabling the industry to directly print final polymer parts. And that meant for us to develop new materials which more or less are able to get the final mechanical properties which are required by the industry, and developing the printing technologies which are able to process those materials. We continue to be disruptive by being one of the first to certify the whole AM process, so meaning from the material production over printing process over material testing. And then we launched a large-scale printer 2 years ago at Formnext, which was, again, a start for this whole industry, because this scale-up process finally enabled the industry to scale up their processes and produce for industrial batch sizes, basically. And until recently, I guess some of you have already heard it, one of the largest, or the largest user of 3D printing decided, we need that, we want that. So it seems we've been doing everything right in the last few years. So secret sauce has always been to combine material and the process. We knew that in order to create new material properties, we had to create new materials, but with the processes which were on the market, we were not able to process these materials, so we also developed new printing processes and technologies in order to be able to manufacture these materials. And just in this combination, you are able to get high quality parts for industrial applications. But not only material and printing processes are important, but actually covering the whole process chain. And we were able to show that only if you cover the whole process chain, you're actually able to get everything out of this whole 3D printing process. And that means you have to have the parts design, slicing, so the whole job preparation in your hand, then the material manufacturing, material development, printing processes, post-processing, very important. I'll come back to that later on. And then, of course, service and training. So you have to enable your customers, because you don't want them to have several PhD students to get one part out of the machines. So training is also a very important part of this whole process chain. If you take a look at our current material portfolio, you can basically see what we've been focusing on in the last few years. So We do have materials which can be used for very high precision parts. So we do have a lot of requests for micro parts manufacturing. And then there are soft elastomer-like materials, because apparently there are also applications for that. And then we do have high temperature materials, flame resistance materials, and materials with certain electric and dielectric properties, which were very interesting for specific applications in the electronics and connectors industry. And this is what we've been focusing on in the last 3 to 4 years, basically. So in order to process these materials, because they are very high viscous at room temperature, we need to heat up the whole process. So our printers work at elevated temperature. That's why we call that whole thing hot lithography. And our printers both can be heated up. So we do have a small one and a large one. And the small one is the Caligma system. You can use that for your part development, for prototyping, but up to small and medium-sized production, depending on how large your parts are. Our optical resolution is 18 microns, and you will not find many more stereolithography printing technologies out on the market with that higher resolution. So we're really able to reproducibly print very precise parts. And if you take a look at the CT scans on the slides, you see that we are actually really able to reproduce the CAD model to the physical world. And since we have everything out of our hands, so material, software, and the printing process, we're able to have, on the one side, material and property flexibility of the materials and the precision. And the whole thing has to be scalable. So past issues with stereolithography were that they were limited in the platform sizes because of known issues. So separation forces, you'd need hundreds of liters of material in order to start the process. We had to rethink the whole process and develop something completely new, where you would not need hundreds of liters and where you would have more flexibility in production and more flexibility in the scale of your build platform. And Sirion is what we came up with. If you don't know the process yet, I will invite you to come to our booth later so you can actually see how it works. And just to give you a hint, so the platform is 1 meter times 280 millimeter, which is very large for stereolithographic printing, with a very high resolution of 50 microns. So we are actually able to produce on a large scale, either a large part, but better, a lot of small parts in one machine. And just to give you an example, so if you have one of these small connectors, for example, we are able to print several millions of parts per year on this one machine. So we're already really in industrial batch lot sizes which are able to be printed on this machine. So now we finally did this transition to fully digital manufacturing, and how this whole process chain looks like, I will show you in the next video. Oh no, first, post-processing. I forgot about that. Very important. So since a lot of 3D printing companies out there more or less ignored the last part of the whole process, the post-processing, we had to come up with a solution about that, because now we were finally able to produce a lot of parts, and then someone had to clean them. So that's why we came up with that post-processing solution. So we separate the large build platform into smaller segments, put them in a centrifuge, and collect the residue material of these segments, which can be recovered and put back into the system. So they are requalified and then put back into the system. So we are actually able to recover more than 90% of this material of the system. And after that, it's put in a solvent cleaning station, and internally, so in this cleaning station, the solvent is distilled. So also the solvent is reused, recycled, so to minimize the whole solvent use in this process. And this is, so for us, this is sustainability, this is industrial, this is what is necessary for mass production for printed parts. And now, the video.
This is how your ideas become reality. With our innovative 3D printing process, produce large parts or thousands of precision components in one go. digitalize, customize, industrialize with hot lithography. Production has never been this flexible. Remove excess material that can simply be recycled. Clean and cure. Quickly, safely, and sustainably. From idea to finished product within days. Experience full production flexibility. Cubicure, your solution for digital production.
Thank you, Sonja. Great video, was very impressive. Thank you very much, and also thank you for introducing the great technology and the amazing potential this technology holds. And preparing for my part of the speech today, I was thinking what could explain disruptive and how disruptive AM could be for serial production for you guys in the audience. And I thought maybe the best thing would be to bring some solutions that we already realized in terms of serial production. So that's basically the core of my part today. I'm very happy to tell you today that we are already able to keep up in terms of quality, time, and costs compared to a traditional technology. And the technology I'm referring to based on what Sonja said is plastic injection molding. So for a short introduction, we at Weisser, we are a plastic injection molding company. So we are established around 100 years on the market, and we are producing on roughly 90 plastic injection molding machines, producing almost 500 million parts per year. So we really know what serial production is all about. And when we decided to go into additive manufacturing, it was only at the point that we saw there is a technology ready that could meet up with the requirements for true serial production of end-use parts. And I can tell you here, it's possible. We have the cases and we are ready to do that, because even more, we are already doing it. Meaning in a quantity of less than 10,000 parts per year and a volume less than 1 cubic centimeter, we are able to even meet the cost requirements of plastic injection molding. So we are at the same level. And why I'm so excited about that is because when you introduce a new technology, or what we say a new process, a completely new process into manufacturing, you need to be at least as good as the existing technology, okay? And you also have to have an add-on value. Sounds a little bit unfair, because you need to be at least as good and even better. But I show you in a minute what this add-on value is and how you can really improve serial production through additive manufacturing. And that additional part is what we say is flexibility. And this flexibility comes in design, development, and quantity. And as you remembered from my slide before, if you talk about serial production, you always have in mind these three things. You have costs, you have quality, and you have time. Sonja showed you how quality is possible on the Cubicure systems. I tell you that time and costs are also possible at a normal level. And now we add flexibility as a fourth dimension to serial production. And that's really new. To all of you who are attached to serial production, if you could get flexibility in your production process, just think about all the potential you can get with that. And when I talk about flexibility in design, development, and quantity, I talk about three things. First one is freedom of design. I am pretty sure an audience at Formnext, I don't have to explain freedom of design in terms of additive manufacturing. So that's clear. What might be new to some of you is faster development cycles. So you even in a serial production phase, you can change your product very easily. When we look at plastic injection molding, we are always talking about recreating the mold and re-evaluating the process. In additive manufacturing, we're talking about maybe some clicks, and then you're already good to go the next day with your new product. And the third one, I think it's new to maybe some of you, maybe a little more, is the demand-driven production. And I'm not talking about what you might know, reducing storage costs. Okay, we heard it in the what Paul said just before, that you are able to have your spare parts not in the storage. You have the spare parts, you can print them, or whatever is talked about when you talk about demand-driven production. I'm telling you something completely completely different when I talk about demand-driven production, and that is throwing a product on the market and see how the market's going to adapt your new product, and then start producing more of it. So I don't know how many of you, maybe give me a short hand, how many of you are from a development department? Okay, quite some. So think about all your ideas that die because business development asks you how are the sales and how many of those ideas are gonna end up in sales. I guess there are quite some of your ideas in your development department that are completely killed by business development, because you cannot say if your customer's gonna pick the product up or not. Now think about a completely free process, flexible process, where you just throw the product on the market at a minimum cost, because you don't have to invest in mold, in a huge production process. You just throw it on the market and then see if the customer likes it or not. It's a complete different world if you think it from a demand-driven perspective like that. And I'm not, as I promised, I'm not just telling you any theory here. I can prove you on 2 examples today that our vision works. So the first example is the one on the left side. It's a bobbin. It's something very regular we do in our original business, and that's the substitution case. So we produce here with the technology of Cubicure, we produce a end-use part, electrical functioning part, okay, at a quantity of 2,000 parts per year. I don't know how many of you already know that these quantities are possible in additive manufacturing and what that means to serial production. For us, it means really, really a lot, because we are able to meet a sweet spot here at quantities around 2,000, even up to 10,000 pieces, where it's not always very interesting to invest in a plastic molding process, because you have to pay a lot of money for your mold. Okay, this mold here in a plastic injection process would be roughly 80, 90, 100,000 euros. You always have to amortize this costs here, okay? So that's a great case that's already running. And the case on the right-hand side, that's the flexibility case I show you today. That's a smart connector produced by Weidmuller. It consists of 16 additive manufactured parts, and freedom of design here means it's impossible to be produced in plastic injection molding due to its design. It's also, we had changes in the serial production phase. We had changes because they changed something in the supply chain at our customer, and we had to adapt the product here. In plastic injection molding, we are talking about roughly 5,000 euro per change and about 3 to 4 weeks to change it. In additive manufacturing, it's like a few clicks, 3 hours of work, and the next day already available in a serial production phase, okay? And the last thing, demand-driven, that's exactly what I explained on my slide before. Weidmuller threw the smart connector now on the market and sees if the market's gonna pick it up. And if the market's gonna like it, we produce more, and we are not changing into a plastic injection molding process. We are staying in the additive manufacturing process, because what Sonja told you about scalability is possible here, and there's no need to change because it's already on the market. It's already on the market on a certain price, and there's no need to change it anymore in a different production technology, and that's really amazing news here. Also to tell you what are the next step, and Sonja talked about some challenges. I'm also happy to tell an experienced audience like you what are the challenges that we are facing in the serial production phase. And this is simple summarized in the word trust. So we need more trust. Sonja and I really try to show you today that the technology in terms of machine and material is ready. So we have material propositions compared to high expectation of plastic injection molding process. We have a machine that can produce it. We have the Serion technology of Cubicure that is able to do a serious production process up to 5 million parts per year. Okay, so that's check. What we are working on is industrializing post-process, and if any of you are from industries that could help us here, we are happy to work on that. We are doing a great job already in automizing and standardizing the post-process, and that all 3 points have one common goal. And the common goal is the continuous quality process. That's how we're going to build trust in the AM industry. When we have a continuous quality process, repeatable and reliable, then we are exactly there where traditional technologies are at the moment. And that's going to unleash quite some potential. So what I'm trying to give you with our talk today, and especially for my part, is let's leave the playground and get serious. We see a lot of great possibilities here at Formnext, and really great developments, and every one of them has its own requirements, and it's always good. But please stop consider additive manufacturing as something to play along and try something new. It's really, and I hope I really told you that today, it's ready to be used as a serious production technology, and it's already happening. We are already doing it, using it as a serious serial production technology. So if you need anything now to get ready to go, I can tell you it's time for disruption. Get ready, and there's a lot of potential out there. And come meet us, and let's talk about the potentials here. And thank you very much from both of you for your attention, and we're looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Great applause, first of all, for Alexander and Sonja. Thank you very much for these insights and the examples you brought with you. Sonja, you mentioned the aspect of certification. How important is it for your customers, the certification aspect, and where do your customers come from?
So I would say right now most of our customers come from the electronics and connectors industry. We do have also some customers in the medical industry, and both of these industries have their certification. So what we can do is guarantee that if you process the materials as we tell you to, so printing, post-processing, post-curing, and so on, we guarantee that the material properties are what we told you they are. Regarding part certification and certification for a certain application, the customers will do that themselves. So this is also why we are not a service bureau, so we are not actually printing the parts for the customers, because then we would have to do all the certifications.
But have you a solution
all the industries
that you implemented it in the machines, that you are sure that the part is printed like you said in the certification process, or is it alterable or changeable or something?
This certificate says, okay, if you use our materials on our printers with these parameters and these post-processing parameters, then you will get these materials.
But it's not built in the software or something. It's just he has to follow the steps.
Softwares or machine software is part of the machine. Slicing software is something different, so this is not part of this. But yeah, material printing and post-processing is...
Okay, because this was an aspect here on stage, I think on Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm not sure. And they said it's for medical applications extremely important that you cannot change the process whilst it's certificated, and then you change afterwards something.
Yeah, so actually our customers do that themselves. So they say, we fix the way we do that internally and qualify that internally. Okay. And if they change it, they have to re-qualify it intro.
Okay, thank you very much. I already had a look at our Slido tool, so unfortunately no questions from the audience from the Slido tool. That makes a point for me. You know, there is a roll-up at the side of the stage. If you want to ask your questions to our experts here on stage, just scan the QR code and then you can deliver your questions right to us here on stage with our iPad here. And that's the same for you outside. It's a live stream, so if you want to have some questions, you can go to the booth and ask them there. But if you want us asking that on the stage, feel free to give us your questions. So thank you both for being with us, and I wish you both a successful fair. And I think we see you later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay, one applause, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, after a short break, we will continue here on stage with our next expert insights.